We're proud to have linked up with Tracksmith for this episode of Podium. Tracksmith is the New England running brand which produces what we think is some of the highest quality running gear you can get. Its third running shoe has just been released, a trail shoe called the Elliott Range. There's also the Elliott Runner for everyday miles. But I love the Elliott Racer, a lightweight carbon fiber shoe I've been using over the past few months. I've mostly been using them for 5K park runs and sessions and seeing the results too. So see for yourself what the fuss is all about and give them a try. Head to tracksmith.com and get 20% off your first order by using the code PODIUM20, all one word and spelled like Podium, Podium, and enter that at checkout. Details are also in the show notes.
We are so grateful to Maurten for their sponsorship of this podcast since day one. When I was an athlete, it was hard to find a carbohydrate drink that would give you anywhere near the fuel you needed for a long run or in a palatable format. And when it came to using bicarb, it was hard to find a trusted source, let alone one that provided a user-friendly pre-mixed product like Maurten do with their bicarb system. And most importantly for race day, a bicarb product that doesn't cause stomach issues. I can only dream of such luxury. To find out more about the bicarb system, listen back to our interview with Andy Sparks in July. And to see how gels and drink mixes can benefit your road training, head to maurten.com. And listeners can make the most of a one-time 15% discount code by entering Podium15 at checkout until the end of 2025.
For one final time, welcome to the Podlet World Championships edition, day 9. We are done, and it is currently, at the time of recording, 11:30. I can't even read my watch because we've had the most
2 hours later than we were meant to come out.
bonkers final session because the rain came in and delayed absolutely everything. We've just been treated to this really actually awesome discus final with the stadium all to the discus throwers selves. Richard, you waited the entire night to do commentary of this. So you actually saw everything and then you still did a final event.
I guess that's the other way of looking at it. I didn't really miss anything at all. So should we start there just very quickly, just because it was a fitting way to end a dramatic World Championships. So the situation was it was meant to start at 8:10. Mikolos Alekna had one throw. Matt Denny went in to be the second athlete in. He slipped over straight away. The rain was absolutely teeming down. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was like bouncing up from the track, wasn't it? And Denny said, this is too dangerous. Officials took them off. It looked like it was only going to be for a few minutes, a bit like when you watch like a cricket match or something, and they just go off on like over the ropes, hoping that they can come straight back on. That was kind of what it was. And then they came back out again and went back in. And then the question was, what happens next? What happens if the rain carries on like this and you cannot have the discus final at the World Championships? It was scheduled at the last possible moment it could be on the final day. Anyway, in the end, they did come back out. The situation wasn't any better. They were doing all kinds of things to try and protect the circle. There was tarpaulin, which came out an hour actually after they went off.
Too little, too late.
One of the most mind-blowing things about the entire
here it is. The tarpaulin had a massive hole in it as well.
Did it? I didn't see that.
It made it even more funny. Anyway, they ended up coming out, and at first we were just thinking this is really stupid because the athletes weren't confident with their footing at all. They're slipping and sliding all over the place. But every now and again, the rain relented, and volunteers, it was a military operation. The volunteers and officials were as soon as one athlete had gone, the athlete would step out of the circle and the officials would
launch
sprint in. About 8 or 9, I think, maybe 10. They'd all go in with a World Athletics official guiding them to make sure that it was completely done as he wanted it to be done. Towels, drying it all off, and then another athlete would go straight in and they would throw straight away. It's the quickest discus final
they were rubbing to the last minute. They were drying and then the official would be like, stop, and they'd all clear out as soon as possible. The athlete would flood in.
They were doing like shuttle runs. It was great. Anyway, so the way it was looking in the competition-wise was that Mikolos Alekna was leading the way 67 metres 84, and actually he was getting the better of the conditions. And then in comes Daniel Stool, double world champion, the Olympic champion from here inside this stadium, and final throw, 70 metres 47, making light of the conditions in the end. The only one who looked like he was enjoying himself.
I was going to say,
there.
he was actually having fun,
yeah,
wasn't
he?
he? And he was smiling.
You know,
there were so many Swedish fans that stayed in.
Others were getting quite stressed out about the situation, and you can get why, because they've had to wait a long time. They were prepared, nutrition, all that kind of stuff, like getting ready for it, and they would have wondered whether they were going to continue coming out. They come out, and then they start thinking, am I going to now get injured and not even be able to have a bad start to my next season? And that was the case with Andras Gudjus. He just decided he was going to bow out after 2 rounds. He wasn't going to take that risk. But Stall was the first one to properly get the crowds involved in this final. He didn't look like he was moping around. He was smiling the whole time, bouncing, singing to himself. And
with his umbrella, with his little twirling his umbrella.
Well, we even saw parasols come up, and there was also the other thing. There was like a pathway that was made. I think they were made. I think they were made out of yoga mats and towels. So these mats were all laid out, and the athletes were only allowed to walk on this towel back and forth. And there's all these different techniques of how we're going to deal with these conditions. There was taking shoes off, putting socks on top of them, extra tape, which is what Matt Denny was using. Anyway,
mixing the shoes, one trainer, one
yes.
shoe. And who was it? Was it Gudjus? No, it wasn't Gudjus. Who was it that wore 2 casual shoes in the end?
Weisheidinge.
Weisheidinge tried everything. He had 8 different shoes.
He was wearing a pair of normal running shoes, and then he went next time for 1 casual shoe and 1 running shoe.
Well, they're like Adidas classic. What they called those shoes? It was like literally just like your bog standard classic shoes.
They look like kind of like 70, 80 quid standards running shoe. That's nothing special.
No. Then he was in casuals after that.
Then he was in casuals.
Yeah.
Sorry,
It's just, I was like,
I think maybe it was either
on
1 casual and 1 throwing shoe, and then he thought, and then he slipped.
It's like a lucky dip.
And the next time he came,
go in my bag and wear what I put
next time
out.
he came in with 2 casual shoes.
Yeah, which didn't work. That's when he smashed his elbow.
Yes, that's when he smashed his elbow.
That really didn't work. He landed hard on his elbow.
Yeah, shock horror. If you don't wear shoes that are actually made for sport in the rain in a slippy circle, it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Stall wins it. Alekna gets silver. He still hasn't got a global medal, the world record holder, and Alex Rose got Samoa's first ever world championship medal, and. Actually, it's the first ever athletics medal generally at global level for Samoa.
Olympics or Worlds.
Olympics combined as well. So we got surprise results.
And it was a delay, and we were all getting angsty, and we were all tired. And I just want to say, I think that more than lived up to. And I actually, we've all been trying to say to each other, we're going to miss this when it's done. When we go home and we're not here, and we're going to miss this World Championships. And in the end, I thought that last hour was one of my favourite bits of the whole Championships, because they all really went for it, and to still have a competitive result like that, also, not a washout.
They rattled through it,
yeah,
because they had to.
That was one of my favourite things, to learn that a field final can be
possible.
that quick, and it was so enjoyable because of it. And I don't know how different it is for the athletes or whatever, but having sat through like 18 hours of decathlon pole vault this morning, like, it was quite a nice tempo change.
Well, I mean, the shot, the hammer, the discus, they can go quickly, they can run quickly, but they only ever get stopped by athlete presentations, don't they?
Yeah,
so that's the reason why they slow down a little bit sometimes. Anyway, that's that done. Where do you want to go next? I guess the
women's 8 from a British, women's 8 from a British point of view.
Wow, I saw the last pretty much like 250 meters, and I was desperately trying to get eyes on. So I guess you need to sum this up for us. From my perspective, it looked like Keely went out maybe a bit early. Georgia Hunter-Bell looked really good, but from my perspective, almost like didn't quite trust that she could go for the gold. It was my take on it.
But Georgia not being able to, you think Georgia couldn't go for the gold, or Keely? Yeah,
something about Georgia
like
didn't quite flow right through till the end.
I don't know. I kind of felt like I don't think they had no idea that Adira was coming. Wasn't even. I didn't even see her look up into the screens, because they were just going full gas. I don't think they had any idea. I mean, that was the PB from Georgia Hunter-Bell, wasn't it? She ran the best of her life, and also decision justified.
Yeah,
in the end, to go just for the 8. She thought this would be the better chance to getting a medal, and that she's come away with her best ever global medal as well as she. I think she was just going full gas, full send. I don't know that Adira is coming. Adira came from behind from when she really started to motor through from about 70 metres from the end. And Keely was just tying up.
I'm finding it hard to explain what I mean. It's almost like she couldn't believe that moment was happening. I agree with you. I don't think she knew Adira was coming, but there was something about not having that conviction as she was going through Keely almost.
Yeah, well, I just think they were absolutely eyeballs out. They were absolutely flat out, and it's similar to
Championship record as well. Have we said that yet?
Yeah, no, we haven't. Yeah,
No,
championship
yeah.
record.
I mean, so,
it was
pretty quick.
It was similar to, you know how we were talking about how Jake did the move to beat Laros and ended up with silver. I think Keely got sucked into Mary Morat's pace, which was too hot for any. And Morat was out the back door by the end. It was too hard for her, and that's the hard thing. You kind of pig-headedly match someone's pace, and especially Keely. She's a front runner. She likes to go hard. I was pleased she let Morat do the leading, but I think. It was such a bizarre thing that Morat was leading from the outside, Keely was still on the inside. They were running side by side, and unfortunately, I think Keely just did too much.
Just based on the whole season as well, I'd never thought that Morat was going to continue.
It was 200 to go. Morat went to cut in on Keely, and she had to put in a burst to not get swallowed up on the inside to protect any position, and that was what then left Keely vulnerable in the home straight.
There was this sort of gap that kept on sort of kind of opening up and then being closed.
Yeah, she went from being like in the perfect position to actually
Did she need to just push through then?
She did. No, she did. Like Keely did push through. She pushed through but then she used her only move on the back straight. Whereas if she'd been on the shoulder of Morat or even further back in the pack, she wouldn't have had to make a decision like that. She had to avoid getting swallowed up in the pack, and then that's what cost her the gold, I think.
So what a strange kind of blind spot in her career for Keely now.
Yeah.
If you look back, beaten by Athimo in Eugene, beaten by Morat in Budapest. Yes, this season was totally different in terms of how she came into it, such a lack of race experience, but the races she did have coming into it were so good and the times were so quick that it felt like it was still hers to lose, and she still hasn't got that world gold.
And perhaps it was 3 races in 5 days.
Well, that's what we said. That is the thing we said, didn't we? Can she do the rounds? And look, she's still come away with the bronze medal, and as she said, just reading over some quotes here, if you told me back in June I'd be on the podium, then I would take that. But given the shape she's in, that she obviously wanted to get the gold medal. Do you think they ended up getting sucked into Mary Morat and not running their own race? They went because
But
Keely did. I don't think Georgia did.
Yeah,
I think Georgia's got a good kind of internal barometer on like what pace she can maintain.
But given what we've seen from Mary Morat all season, was there any indication that that was gonna stick? Not really.
Not really, no.
I mean, maybe she does a bit better through the rounds here.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I don't think.
But she's defending champion.
Then you got to trust.
You can't disrespect the move from a defending champion. Like, you can't.
No, I know.
She is the most erratic character in the whole of track and field.
Well, good Sega as well, but yeah.
Other than good Sega. But hey, and then that made Kenyan women won every medal from 800 to marathon.
Yeah, it's just extraordinary,
Wow.
isn't it?
Like, yeah, that's pretty cool. They absolutely dominated
Wild.
it. Yeah.
Did Ethiopia get a gold?
No.
Not a single one.
Men's 5K was the last chance.
How many medals did they get in the end?
Smattering
Sorry,
of
that's not. I'll look that up.
Good Sega got a
carry on talking.
bronze. Alemu got a bronze in the steeplechase.
But actually, the more pressing question then, from a British perspective, is of course the fact no golds.
Yeah.
The 2 medals we talked about there in the 800, and then no relay medals.
No relay medals.
This needs to be like a deep dive conversation about
and
British
I
athletics,
think we should sort of say now, like, our plan is to do a bit of a kind of considered review.
And
whether that happens tomorrow or not.
Or it might be in a week's time. We should advise that there'll either be a podcast that comes out tomorrow, which is a little bit more in depth, or we're going to have a week off because we need to get home, and then the week after that.
I'm going to Philadelphia for a wedding.
You're going to a wedding. I'm going to a wedding. They're different weddings. You're going to need some time off. We all need some time off, and so in about a week's time, we can, when the dust is settled, we can really start to dive into some of the main stories from this. I think that's what we're going to do.
I want to do scorecards. I want to do scorecards, like most ballsy.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Anyway, tonight.
So the relays, and I don't know, did you guys see Greg Rutherford's comments on BBC coverage throughout this? So I saw it yesterday on social media. He was very outspoken. He was on the BBC TV on the panel, so, back home, not out here. But he called out the fact that the 4x4 women hadn't made it through to the final initially. And he said, it's got to be said, this is just not good enough. The setup they have, the structures, the finances being poured into it. We can all understand a mistake or some sort of slip or whatever. To have finished dead last in a heat, he called it out. And then to have not...
The selection wasn't right. last night, though.
Okay, well, so that's part of it then.
In my opinion, you got to run Amber Annie. You can't make you can't make those kind of
Unless she's telling
mistakes.
you run me today and I'm going to pull a calf.
Why? Well, is it her decision?
Yeah.
In that kind of way.
Yeah,
then?
yeah, yeah.
You got to put one out. You got to. How tight? I mean, I just feel like you're at the World Championships. It's the relay. You need to make sure you get through. And I think everyone would.
Yeah, but you can't have someone finish on a torn hamstring because you've
Hannah, you're speculating. We don't know that, do we?
Yeah,
so let's say that if Amber is fit, then you kind of need to put that she needs to be in.
Mm-hmm.
I find it really frustrating that the teams like ours will and the Americans do it as well, and they've had their mistakes as well. You chop and change a little bit too much because you kind of have their sort of the depth and the kind of arrogance that you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
That's not the case. Everyone, because all those other nations, the so-called smaller nations, or the nations that are that don't have like the A-list sprinters, they are better than the sum of their parts because they train so hard and they've got it all well oiled. I mean, we saw a medal today for the Netherlands. For Netherlands in the 4x1.
Netherlands men's in the 4x1.
No one would ever guess
these
that.
championships have shown us the surprise after surprise, and small nations aren't small nations anymore because they are targeting these
closing
ruthlessly.
that gap on sports science,
100%.
on
Again,
biomechanics.
we're going down that route.
One other thing I would just throw in that really struck me that I think you could notice far more in the stadium possibly than if you were watching at home, the disparity in the relays, particularly in the sprints, over the conditions from lane, I would say 1 through to 4, and then 5 through to 9. Particularly 7, 8, and 9, those lanes were dry because of the way the stadium is styled when the pouring rain came down. So the field events were stopped, the track events carried on, and you watched Dina Asher-Smith getting completely torrentially rained on, and she did so well in that opening leg anyway for the women's 4x1. But the Americans had a dry lane to run in.
Yeah. No, it was really remarkable. I mean, Melissa Jefferson-Wooden got the triple though. She's only the second woman to do so. Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price is the only other person that's done it. Fraser-Price, brilliant lead-off leg for her. She got a silver medal.
She's out now.
Yeah, and it's lovely synergy. Her first medal she ever got was a silver in Osaka in the 4x1. She's back in Japan, finishing with a silver. Absolutely obscene number of medals. I lost count, and I didn't do the recount before this, but Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price, absolutely epic. And I think it was nice to see Kerry Richardson finish on a high. Given the whole year she's had, and she's performed well individually here, but to get on the podium, I think was really cool. Canadian men, well, it was the German women got the bronze, absolute perfection again, like you're saying, when they're well drilled. The Canadian men, we said it yesterday, rinse and repeat. Just do the same thing that you've done for the last half decade.
What about?
But it's the same 4 as well.
That's what I mean.
What about Botswana with gold in the men's 4x4 as well? That was awesome.
And I thought it wasn't going to happen as well, because it was Kevin Achipi. It was almost like he looked like he didn't have anything else, and then Sakiti Nene came up on his shoulder, the battle for silver and bronze, and that almost ignited Kevin Achipi. And he went, all right, I'll go get the Americans. And he overhauled Rai Benjamin, who's just been so dominant in the 4 hurdles. Kevin Achipi, it was just pure inspiration for him, and the way they were celebrating as well. And Tobocco, to have disappointment individually and then get gold.
I thought that, awesome. And to celebrate it with his teams, like for a nation like Botswana, that was absolutely massive.
Someone who didn't have, who got really unlucky throughout these championships, can I just say, in the 4x4 is Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone. We've had barely any rain this entire championship. She's ended up running her final in the rain and the relay final too, which is just ridiculous, but they still put down a championship record.
That was super impressive. So
the other thing we've been doing here on Podium is, of course, totting up all the athletes that we've been interviewing this season, leading into what has been incredible championships, to work out where we would finish on the medal table. We'd be 3rd overall, and one of those gold medalists representing the People's Republic of Podium is Nicola Olislager. She finally gets her world gold. She's been the one to beat in the high jump all year. I watched this one in detail. She was just really composed. Again, all the rain delays and where it sort of stopped and started the competition meant her and Mahuchik essentially didn't jump for well over an hour and were just huddled in lane 9, which was the only place they could stay dry. And it was all a bit stop-start. It wasn't kind of...
Do you think? So Olislager's got the clearance at 2 metres before the first rain delay.
Yeah.
Do you think she would have won anyway, or do you think that
I think she would have, but I think we would have seen Mahuchik push her. Mahuchik immediately fouled, so knocked the bar off at 2.
because Mahuchik, I love the tactics of Mahuchik. Like first, failed 2 meters with all that rain delay, and then just went, well, no, I'm going to pass my other 2 attempts at this. And in the end, that cost her. So, well, who knows? But she ends up down in the bronze position, tying with Topic. But I admire that. I admire those tactics of just sort of saying, well, I'm going to go for gold here. And maybe that was to do with the conditions as well. If she's super wet and she just wants to,
She only had gold on her mind. She went to sleep for about 3 hours in the middle as well, in classic fashion. Amazing silver for Maria Jojic of Poland. Pulled out a personal best.
Only medal for Poland of the whole champs.
No way, I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, she's switched allegiance from Belarus last year, but pulled out a 2-meter jump for the first time in her life to claim silver, so beat Mahujic. And then this joint bronze for Angelika Topic, who did really well, 197. She was so excited, but she had to wait to see what Mahuchik would do because her fate was sort of tied to her.
She was crying because she couldn't decide whether she was going to lose the bronze medal or get her first major outdoor medal. It was so cool to watch. And her dad, 4th at the Olympics, 4th at the Worlds, never got himself a medal.
Exactly.
Coaches her, they got a medal. I thought that was,
he was
just lovely.
He actually, I think, from what I could see, left the stadium when they had to wait to see if she was going to get the bronze.
Went out for a break.
All stressed, all smiles at the end. Anyway, that's World Championships done.
No, 5K.
We haven't done the men's 5,000 metres yet.
The 5K. Did you manage? You managed to see this before you went on air, right?
Well, no, I missed the last 30 seconds.
Oh no!
For pretty much, I was trying to say hello to the start of the coverage at the same time as they were coming round, like the 200 metres to go. So Cole Hocker wins though and gets his redemption, right? Ahead of Isaac Keely, and then Jimmy Gressier gets another medal.
And I want to touch on something that I couldn't talk about in commentary. Was Jimmy Gressier this week has been saying a big public thank you to the AIU for, in his opinion, cleaning up our sport in the last 5 years in terms of upping the level of drugs testing, the sophistication of drugs testing, because he said, in a previous era or at the start of his career, he wouldn't have been competitive in a world final because he wouldn't have felt like it was a level playing field, and that is what has allowed him to punch through into the medals. And when you look at the medalists there as well, we're having a much bigger range of nations represented in these finals, and that men's 5,000 metres was super entertaining. It was a shame to see George Mills from a British perspective struggling at the back. No press release. There was a press release from British Athletics about the other action. No word on George. I checked that to see. It looked like he was sick or something. It looked like he was pretty drained and pretty empty. But Gressier getting back on the medal table, on the podium, and Isaac Keely just went for it. 200 to go, and the Ethiopians were forcing it. They were really trying to get the 2 Ethiopians in the field, Mahari and Gebrewa, wanted to be that first medal for Ethiopia, but they got it wrong. How about Ingebrigtsen? Ingebrigtsen pushed it with a K to go.
Yeah.
And you thought, what on earth?
And maybe just not enough fitness.
He put on his
It looked a lot. That looked a lot better than the 15.
It did. 13:02 with all the training he's missed, and he put on social media I'll always. It's much better to come 10th in the world than watch at home and wonder what could happen.
I rate that so much as well.
So much.
Yeah, so here for it.
Yeah, he said, I love to compete.
So that's no medals for Norway either, is it?
No, good shout. Yeah, with Varholm not getting one.
Well, and Skottheim in the decathlon.
Yes, DQ'd
in the hurdles this morning. So that was a win for Neugebauer. Leah the German.
Yeah, that was pretty epic in the decathlon as well. The pace judgment from Aidan Owens Delerme in the 1500 was just whack. It went out a 4-minute pace, and I'm like, dude, you're a 4:15 runner. Why are you going out a 4-minute pace? But no one ever listens to me with a decathlete. Yeah, if they could just consult me on their pacemaking, they'd all be all right. But
they should have seen Rich's media race.
Exactly, they should have looked at Rich's media race and realised that I might know nothing about the other 9 events, but I do know something about the 1500.
Yes, you do. Well, Cole Hocker said, "I just want to go and eat and drink." So
is that Cole Hocker, or was
relatable?
So Richard Newman or Cole Hocker?
Maybe we should go. Maybe we should go and do the same thing.
Yes.
How do you want to sign off? We've done all kinds of wrong words and phrases throughout this.
Thanks to anyone that has enjoyed our podlets. It's been really fun to step straight off the track and reflect on stuff. I love competing as an athlete, but being on the other side of it and watching all the drama and everything unfold has been awesome. And I hope that anyone that's enjoyed the championships at home has enjoyed it as much as we have.
Perfect. Well, let's go and have a beer. See you later.